Now, this is also something that you all know. This is nothing that we don't know about. But again, writing it and putting it on paper is a difficult task. So let's see if we are able to write. Parliament's power to amend the constitution is a limited power and it cannot be enlarged into absolute power. So then again, see the format. Format is the same. A statement is given. In light of this statement, you see how the format of the question is similar. In light of this statement, explain whether Parliament under Article 368 of the Constitution can destroy the basic structure of the Constitution by expanding its amending power. Now, the challenge here is that we all know about this. We know Parliament cannot do it because of basic structure doctrine. They have also showed it. But to write a 15 marker on this, our ability has to be to break down the question into subparts so that we at least get points for relevant subparts. So again, I will give you 3 minutes to think about this question. I don't think there is anything here that you don't know in polity, but putting it on paper is the challenge. First, you take this question, and then I'll answer it. Dekho, most of the comments that you gave me right now were showing evolution of basic structure. That okay, there was Shankari Prasad, then there was Golaknath, then there was Keshavnand Bharti, then there was Minerva Mills. This is not asked in this question. ये नहीं पूछा है उन्होंने. उन्होंने कहा, they have already shown that it is a limited power, cannot be enlarged into absolute power. They have already written this. This statement actually is directly from the Keshavnand Bharti judgment. They are asking, in light of this statement, explain whether Parliament can destroy basic structure. तो ये कह रहे हैं कि this thing is true. Statement 1 is given. This statement is true. In light of this statement, tell me, can Parliament now expand its amending power and destroy the basic structure? This is a difficult question to write. It's an easy question to answer. I can tell you that yes, this cannot happen. But to write 3 pages in it for 250 words is a difficult task, right? So what are we going to do here? In this question, we are first going to talk about the statement itself. So the Parliament's power to amend the Constitution. This is the first keyword. So we will talk about parliamentary power to amend the Constitution being a limited power. So since question is difficult and we have to fill 3 pages, we know the things that have to be written. So what we will do, we will first write, yes, that parliamentary power to amend the Constitution is a limited power. Here we will show that parliamentary power to amend the Constitution is coming from Article 368. It has a certain procedure. In this procedure also, there are 2 special things. So one, there is need of special majority, and the other thing is that if it is a federal provision, it needs ratification from 50% states. Okay, this is the first part of the question, that parliamentary power to amend is limited. So parliamentary power to amend the Constitution is this, and it is limited by, and you can make this diagram in this question also. It is limited by what? Limited by 2 things. So it is limited by 1, the basic structure doctrine, and the second thing it is limited by is judicial review. Just giving the doctrine is not enough. The judicial review is there to invalidate any particular amendment. So in the first part of the question, I will write, Parliament's power to amend the Constitution emanates from Article 368, wherein a special majority is needed in both houses, and then federal ratification is needed in case it is a federal procedure. However, this amending power is limited. This is the question. By 1, the basic structure doctrine. Now I have to little bit explain the basic structure doctrine. So I will say that it is not a permanent set of guidelines. It is determined by the Supreme Court in case-to-case basis. First, this idea was expounded in Keshav Nand Bharti, and later you can talk of that, okay, these are the various things. These are the various things that the Supreme Court has already put in the idea of basic structure. For example, parliamentary sovereignty, parliamentary form of democracy, federalism principle, the idea of judicial review, the idea of constitutional supremacy. These are all things that have been put in the basic structure. This is the limitation to the parliament's amending power. This is the first thing, the first part of the question. Then, in my second page now, I have to write, can the parliament expand its amending power? By expanding its amending power, can the parliament destroy the basic structure of constitution? So in the second part of the question, here only, I will write the second thing. The second thing is what? That can parliament expand? Can parliament expand its amending power and then destroy the basic structure? So here what I'll show, that if the parliament tries to expand beyond its constitutional scope and tries to destroy the basic structure, then it will lead to judicial review and ultimately invalidation of the particular amendment which was there to expand its amending power and to destroy the basic structure. This will be invalidated by judicial review, and then I will give various examples as to where this has already happened. And what are those examples? The most prominent example and the most discussed example is the National Judicial Appointments Commission, the NJAC, which was overturned by the Supreme Court, being violative of basic structure of constitution. So again, since it is a difficult question, I will first talk about parliamentary power to amend is limited. Parliamentary power to amend is like this, limited by two things: basic structure doctrine and judicial review. Expansion, if done, will lead to judicial review and will lead to invalidation, for example, as has happened in the various other cases. This is the answer that you want to write here. This question is not, it is not the evolution of basic structure doctrine, that how basic structure doctrine has evolved. This has not been asked here. I know this is something that we know. हमें आता होता है ये. It's easy to write. We know all the cases. We have read 24th, 25th, 29th constitutional amendment, etc. But this is not something that was asked here. Okay. Now, next. I'll just show you the answer, but the same thing that I've written on the board is given in the answer. I hope even the structure is now clear. Right? This one thing I wanted to tell you. This is a quote by Sri Jawaharlal Nehru. If you have to make the constitution solid and permanent, if you make the constitution solid and permanent, you stop the nation's growth and growth of the living, vital and organic people. In this context, Article 368 lays down the scheme of amendment. Now, this quote I want you to extract and use. Okay. This quote could also have been used in the first question where transformative constitution was asked. And even the transformative constitution quote could have been written here, that yes, amendment to the constitution is necessary with time. Right? So these quotes you want to extract and take to your polity notes. This is the value addition that's happening here. Now again, I've told you limited power of parliament to amend. Procedure I assume you already know, that's why I've not written here. But this you need to write, that okay, supremacy of constitution, separation of power, secular character, these are all part of basic structure. This is the first part of the question, where we were showing it is limited by basic structure, and these all things are part of basic structure. So these are certain examples of these cases I'm sure you know about. Okay. Then if in case parliament tries to amend and it breaks the basic structure and expand its amending power, it will lead to judicial review, Supreme Court judgment and invalidation of the amendment. And this has happened here. For example, in Indira Gandhi versus Raj Narayan, 39th amendment was said to be violative. Okay. Then in I.R. Coelho, it was said that even if you place something in the 9th schedule, it cannot be violative of basic structure. Then the Supreme Court advocates on record, this is the NJAC case. Again, it was said that this is violative of basic structure and you cannot put here.